Hello everyone, welcome to episode 86 of this awesome, amazing Osu Let's Play series. In the last episode, I talked about one-tricking and skill set balance and sort of when and why that might be important, or when you might actually want to be a one-trick versus, actually balancing your skill set. And in this episode, I want to talk about something that's very important, and that is technique and posture. I think they somewhat go hand in hand. Technique basically being, the way you move your fingers when you tap, or the way you hold your mouse or pen, things like that. So I do have other videos related to, specifically about grip, so definitely check that out. I'll have that linked in the top corner here or also in the description, but I want to talk mostly about, I think posture is something I haven't really touched on in this series yet, so we'll talk about that and then also give some pointers and my personal experiences on different techniques in this game. So before I get into any of that though, I'd like to shout out as usual that I live stream every single day over at twitch.tv, so that'll be linked in the description. But if you want to hang out with me or watch me play this game live or ask me questions, anything like that, please stop by, say hello. And also bonus points if you tell me that you came from this Let's Play series. We will be very happy to see you there. So yes, with that said, I think really a lot of what technique and posture boil down to is like just being as relaxed as possible. I think Osu is actually a very sort of energy requiring game. I can't think of the word, but yeah, it definitely requires you put in a lot of energy. I think as with most rhythm games, right, as you get to very high caliber, it's very exhaustive is not the word. That means like high detail. Okay, you guys get the idea though, right? So I think with posture and technique, okay, another thing about posture is that you need to make sure, this is just like general posture advice for like, assuming you play this game, you probably spend a lot of time on the computer, right? So I would say you need to make sure you're not breaking your back, basically breaking your back. You don't want to, make your future self disappointed in you. So, making sure you're sitting up straight, because if you're playing this game, you're probably sitting at the computer for a long time, okay? And honestly, in my experience, when I'm sitting up, I can actually focus a lot better on my game as well. So yes, that's, I think, very important. If you want to stop watching now, okay, no, please keep watching, Okay, anyway, so technique is, I think, something that's honestly sometimes joked about in the community. There's like communities of people that like make up technique names that don't actually exist, like I don't know, things like Mr. Brew Method, and yeah, okay, actually apparently Mr. Brew Method is like a skin or something. It's like some really, okay, so Mr. Boom is like a hidden hard rock, Polish hidden hard rock player, and one day, so you know Murami Eterna, the Canadian speed dude, he did this like really good, what is it, just like speed score or something, and then he went on Twitter and he said Mr. Brew Method like is like really working or something like that. And everyone's like, what in the world is the Mr. Boom method? And like he didn't explain it, and like nobody explained it. And so I was pretty sure it was just like some made up thing that, I mean, it pretty much is made up, but supposedly it's like he like used one of like Mr. Boom's old skins that like works really weirdly with gamma or something. So yeah, I have no idea though. I'm pretty sure it's just a giant troll, but I think someone messaged me about that, and I was like, oh, thank you for the information. So yeah, pretty sure. No, I've heard like a couple people say that it's something about a Mr. Boom skin. So yes, if that gives you any leads on, in case that's something that was confusing to you, but yes. Anyway, so with that said, technique is something that's really important, because okay, ultimately, I think technique advice boils down to the fact that like any excess effort is wasted effort, right? Any excess energy that you're putting into your keyboard or things like that is, you know, wasted energy, and obviously you don't want that when you're trying to maintain your stamina as best as possible. So with that said, having a very relaxed composure, I guess, sort of in general, is really what's going to help you maintain that. And I think, okay, there's actually, I think, a common trap that a lot of people fall into, especially as new players. So I think in lower calibers of play, you can sort of get away with like having a sort of inefficient technique or something that like you're tensing up, and so it's not super ideal, but like you can play the maps that you're trying to play if you just tense up. So sometimes it's like, oh, you know, it's helping me play these maps, so you know, I might as well just do what works best, right? And I guess that's true to an extent, but not if it's to the extent of, I guess, having some sort of harmful posture or tensing up your hand in the long run. I think can be very, very harmful. So what you'll find, like people who tend to like tense up or sort of create bad habits for themselves for the sake of like short-term gain, so to speak, like, okay, one really common thing that I found, and honestly, like, not to no one's blame, I think I had this experience as well, and I think a lot of people probably did too. But let's say, for example, you used to be able to stream like maybe 180 BPM, like maximum. But then now you can't even stream 180 BPM properly, but you can stream like 200 properly, maximum. But like you can't really control on like lower BPMs. And at least in my experience, what's happening there is that you never really knew how to stream at that BPM, and you probably can't even quote-unquote stream 200 BPM. What you're probably doing, or like what's probably happening, is that you're just kind of streaming as fast as you can, and it just so happens to be 200 BPM, you know? So in those cases, you have to like sort of take a step back and practice what it feels like to actually be streaming a certain speed or BPM properly. And then from there, it'll be a lot easier to, you know, actually maintain accuracy and things like that. But yeah, I think someone made a comment on one of my videos or something about that recently, so figured I would mention that since I think it is something that I experienced as well. So yeah, like when I was relatively new, I would play 180 BPM by just like tapping as fast as I could. And then like as my maximum tapping speed improved, then I was like, okay, this is not going to work anymore. So, oh shoot. Interesting misread. But yes. Okay, so back on the topic of technique, I would say practicing staying as relaxed as possible, and also understanding the difference between being, I guess, straining and being tense. I think being tense, you can imagine like if you are like making a claw fist, like really tensely. I think if you're being tense, that's sort of synonymous with like immobility, or like not being able to move. Like if you're like really tensing your arm, then you can't move it at the same time, right? But straining, on the other hand, is I think more related to effort or like energy. So straining, for example, like let's say you're trying to lift a very heavy box, and oh, look at this spinner! Look at this! Wow! Okay, anyway, so if you're trying to lift something that's very heavy, you have to strain a lot, right? Probably with your hands, and that is different from being tense. Like if you're just being very tense, it's sort of like you're using up a lot of energy, but it's all like staying inside, right? You're not channeling it into anything. You're just like using up energy for the sake of it, I feel like. As opposed to if you are really straining, then I think that is like, you know, an energy that you're using in order to, you know, exert some sort of force, basically. Hopefully that's kind of clear, but yeah, be very aware of the difference between being tense and straining. I think straining is sort of what you're supposed to do, and then being tense is sort of like the bait. That's like you're doing something wrong, but sometimes it's very hard to tell. So yeah, I think if you feel like you are like becoming unable to move your fingers or your fingers are becoming stiff, then I don't think that's actually straining. I think you can strain while still like not being tense at all, basically. So trying to keep yourself as relaxed as possible, things like that. I think that's fairly common advice, but I still, you know, I think it's worth mentioning. So yeah, with that in mind also, I think, okay, posture, honestly, I think if you're able to maintain either good technique or good posture, then one or the other, I think they sort of go hand in hand, at least a little bit, I would say. Okay, personally, like when I'm sitting up, okay, I guess I already said that, but yeah. Oh, okay, one thing I can mention, so in my live streams, sometimes like, okay, so when I play Osu, is like when I'm sitting up like the most by far. Like when I'm just using my computer casually, I tend to like slouch back a lot or like lean to one side. But when I'm playing Osu, I'm usually seated pretty upright, you know? And I have like my head on my headrest. I have one of those secret lab. Is that what it's called? Wait, yeah. I just like turned around and looked at my chair. Yeah, secret lab chairs that has like the pillow cushion thingy. Yeah, honestly, if you use a computer a lot, I think one of the best upgrades that you can have, sort of quality of life upgrade, but also life upgrade in general. Okay, let me think of how to put this. Okay, yeah. Okay, this is like, okay, so it is cheaper to buy a really nice chair that will support your back as someone who is very frequently on a computer. Cheaper to do that than to pay for medical bills later down the line because you messed up your back with bad posture. So that is my take on that. I would suggest if you're able to, because honestly, if you use computer a lot, then what else are you spending that sort of like quality of life, you know, luxury type, not luxury necessarily, but yeah, quality of life upgrades to, you know, your daily peripherals or just things that you use. So, you know, just some food for thought. Anyone who has been on the edge of, you know, upgrading your chair, where you're like, oh shoot, monies, but then think of how much monies you save down the line, or think of all that more energy that you'll have because your posture is just absolutely incredible. And yeah. But with that said, also I think sitting up usually helps you focus better as well, and definitely talked a lot about how focus plays a really big role in this game. And like there's a lot of little things in this game that like improving your focus will really help a lot with. So yeah, hopefully that is somewhat clear. Bottom line, I think obviously maintaining a relaxed yet, you know, composed posture, so to speak, is I think very important. And I guess while I'm sort of on the topic, I can talk about nerves as well and how that can somewhat mess with your either technique or posture, because it definitely can, right? I think when you're feeling nervous, then, you know, you have greater worries than your posture, like how straight your back is, right? I think you can to focus on the score that you're holding, right? And making sure you don't drop combo. But okay, honestly, let me think of how to put this. Now that I think about it, I think maybe trying to make sure you maintain a relaxed composure is a good way to control nerves, because if you think about like the causality of like the order of events, right? You usually think that, you know, when you're not nervous, then you have like a more composed posture and technique. But it would also be the case that your actions do affect your mental state as well. So with that said, and that is true, by the way, so with that said, I think if you just focus on maintaining composed physical, you know, technique and posture, that it can actually probably help your nerves a lot, because you wouldn't be able to do that in the first place without you know, being somewhat relaxed or, you know, not really super nervous. So yeah, just throwing that out there. But yeah, I do definitely understand that being nervous sometimes, you know, gets to the best of us. I think actually Cookie Z is like a really good example of how like even like the best of best players get like really nervous when getting scores. I think the biggest example that comes to mind for me is I think when he FC'd Black Chocolate or something, and then he was just like, OMG, I won against Nervous or something like that, just like the way he said it. But yeah, anyway, just some quick thoughts that I wanted to share with you guys. Hopefully that was somewhat helpful. Oh, something else about technique. I think experimenting a lot with your technique is very, very valuable. And I think it can be really tricky if you have old bad habits to feel like improving your old bad habits in order to have a sort of healthier technique or healthier posture or things like that. It can be very tricky to break old habits, basically. So I think, I don't know, just some words of encouragement that I think it is definitely worth it in the long run. If you, you know, it takes a long time, right? A lot of struggle and experimenting to see what works best for you. But I think the road is worth it. I think sort of hard resetting your technique and things like that is definitely the move, right? If you feel like you're being called out right now, then today's the day. Today's the day you drop your old bad habits and you learn how to stream properly and tap properly and just everything. Okay, you're gonna become the best Osu player in the world. Okay. But yes, with that said, I also want to mention a bit miscellaneous, but if you notice the key overlay in the bottom, I don't have the what was it, the 2 and 3 anymore. They changed my keybinds, but actually someone messaged me on Discord somewhat anonymously. They were like, hey, I made an Osu keypad and do you want to try it? And I was like, oh, okay. So yeah, a bit impromptu, but thank you very much to that person who gifted me a keypad, because now, okay, I'm pretty sure I mentioned this keyboard that I got from some tournament and it has not come in. So it still has not come in. I think I mentioned it like many weeks ago, but yes, anyway, I have a keypad now. So, and in this keypad are, in case anyone's wondering, Zelios V2, those switches. Very nice. I got them as a gift from Monko2K. Thank you very much, Monko. But yeah, just a little miscellaneous side update to those of you very curious, those of you who stick around to the ends of these videos. You guys are awesome. And speaking of you guys, if you have suggestions for future episodes, please do leave them in the comment section, because I do read all the comments on these videos, as I'm sure you know. But yes, also check out my other videos, please. I have many videos on my channel. I would be very happy if you take a stroll through my channel, watch my other videos. And speaking of watching, you guys can also watch me live at twitch.tv/digital. Oh, no, that's my old Twitch name. Twitch.tv/honmi. Now it is HONMI. That's linked in the description. But yes, anyway, definitely hang out with me live. You guys are all awesome, and I would be very happy to hang out with all of you. But with that, we'll see you guys next time.